My daughter asked me a few years ago back if I believed in God. Was there really a God like Santa? Instantly, I tiptoed around the issue. I told her I went to church a lot when I was a kid, so yes, there is something greater than us in this world. I gave the diplomatic answer. If God didn't exist, I technically wasn't wrong because the word greater could mean anything. If there was a God, then I used the right word, and I wouldn't be destroyed by the almighty power. I didn't want to lie either way, but honestly, I didn't know. Maybe worked for me. Since I was a child, my life's path had many detours and dead ends. Every step met by a little pain, sorrow, joy, and lots of challenges. My journey with God mirrored that path. Prayer became pain and sorrow's best friend. When happiness and joy ended a specific painful episode, I thought, maybe that was God. My prayers had been answered, but nothing really stuck. Nothing really stood out. Not until I met hell. My hell lasted over a 3-year period. The thought occurred to me that nothing was going to ever get better. Each day felt like an eternity. I learned yoga and meditation and read everything and anything. One day, I randomly opened up a book of poetry, and it was in the book called Sheaves by Tagore, and it was called The Right Note, and it goes like this. Nowhere else but in thy own self sounds the false note. It is not in harmony with the glad morning light, and it covers all joy with a veil. Hush thy wild jangle, in silence cast thy eyes around. It is thy heart that blooms, as a flower on the tree, the stream of the river flows for thy sake. So what had been covered inside of me? Is this the key? Would things get better? I loved mysteries. Well, it started me down my spiritual path. Later, I came to realize that poem was not random. Something greater had got my attention and would continue to get my attention. I started down the path of breadcrumbs. I had changed. Everything had changed. Life seemed hopeful and optimistic. And then I got a divorce. Mental fatigue made this next chapter difficult. My spiritual evolution prepped me for the challenge, but I wasn't ready. I made many mistakes. I lost a lot. The person I had started to unravel inside of me locked herself back up again in a cage. I prayed to God. I did what I thought was right. Apparently, better choices could have been made. I was lost. One morning about a year ago, I sat on my kitchen floor, defeated. I felt and looked destroyed, empty. Tears started to flow. Tears turned into sobs. My body shook. I wanted to scream. And as I went to let out my frustration, words came out of me that I didn't expect. I called out to God and I said, I can't live like this anymore. It's out of my control. I no longer have the power. Please send me your spirit and guide me. And I'm calling upon my angels. I need your help. So what happened next defied logic. Spirit is not logical. To best describe it, I felt like something went through me, hit me. My body was hot and cold, nauseous and calm, all at the same time. And it was as if someone was holding me. I started to laugh. I had read enough to know that at that moment God had me. I sat motionless until my twins started to cry. It was morning and it was feeding time. So I picked myself up off the floor and grabbed the bottles, still in disbelief, and I started down another path of breadcrumbs, which has led me here today. God still has me. My spirituality has changed and it keeps evolving. I am joyful and healthy even when challenges arise. God still has me. Faith and prayer guide me. And I'm not religious by any means, but I try to follow 2 concepts. Love and honor God, and show love and respect to others and myself included. I consider myself a student of God and a witness. So that leads me to this scripture from Ecclesiastes 3, verses 1 through 14. It's in the Old Testament of the Bible. It goes, There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to hurt and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on human race. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart, yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live, that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it and nothing taken away from it. So now if my daughter asks me again if I believe in God, I'll say yes. And also, do you have a minute?